السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، يا باب الله ويا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنات. سيدي ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا ثم لا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي، فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. قال جل جلاله في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa azam Allah ujurna ujurakum. This verse in which I read is from Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17, where God says, "The truth has come and the falsehood has vanished. Surely the falsehood is a vanishing thing." Yesterday we talked about the importance of light and choosing the right light. And today we're going to hopefully talk about the importance of haqq, and as the Quran says here, and batil, by truth and falsehood. Because as you'll see, your whole life is going to be involved in always trying to choose what is right and what is wrong. And then it's the individual's sense of ma'rifah, of intelligence, of knowledge, of his purpose, and what you built on, what you program yourself with, will make you distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. In this world, my brothers and sisters, in this world, you will find that there's always going to be two forces acting upon one another. One always overpowers the other. They can never live in coexistence. Although people might say they live in coexistence, but it doesn't happen. For instance, you have things, you know yourself. Sometimes things are hot, sometimes things are cold. Sometimes we have, like yesterday, we talked about light, nur, and if you have dhulumat, darkness. Sometimes a person is healthy, and other times a person is sick. And the life comes as well. That there is life, hayat, and there's maut, death. And on top of this, you look at the whole of the world of the creation, in terms of how we live. We're always told in society, you got to follow the right way. You got to do the right thing. Don't do the wrong thing. Even at work, it's always do the right thing, don't do the wrong thing. It's always right, wrong, right, wrong. Because this is what society is about. Because this is what keeps a society safe. It's what keeps you safe. And that's why you find that the driving force sometimes in a society that people say, why is there so much fasad? Why is there so much batil? We'll answer this question very shortly. But as we have mentioned now, there is always a force with another force trying to overcome another force or replace another force. Newton's third law, for those people that study physics, Newton's third law states for every reaction there's an equal but opposite reaction. For every reaction there's either going to be something equal or opposite. You know, sometimes, for instance, if someone becomes angry at me, you know, I can become angry back at them. It's the same force. But sometimes I can be the better person because that person is getting angry, maybe for the wrong reasons, but I don't want to lower myself down to that position. I act in the better position. So I do the opposite. That's why the Quran says, وَإِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Or, I always say in society, is always, it's like, when you get the north and south pole of a magnet, what happens when you bring the north and the north together? They repel. South and south, they repel. But when the pole of the magnet, one becomes north, one becomes south, they attract. See, this is how society is. There's always going to be two forces. There's always going to be the force of guidance, of hidayah, and there's the force of misguidance. There's going to be that of iman, of disbelief. My brothers and sisters, in this dunya, especially when it comes to religion, there is no in-between. No in-between. That's why the importance of tawalli and tabarra is very important. You say this, even when you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, first of all, you're bearing witness. Or la ilaha, it's first of all, it's like kufr. La ilaha illallah. So even the Quran tells you, La ikraha fi din qad tabayyana rushdu min al-ghayy faman yakfur bit-taghut wa yu'min billah. Allahu Akbar. First of all, there's no compulsion in religion. First of all, you got to reject. Reject what God has told you to reject. Wa yu'min billah. فَقَدْ أَسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. Then he's holding on to the what? To the right rope. And that's why even when it comes to the rope, God says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. One rope. There's no many ropes. One rope. So when we look at this, we'll see that the importance of haqq and batil is determined, and it's always been there in history. It's always been a fight between Adam and Iblis, between Ibrahim and Namrud, between Musa and Fir'aun, between the Holy Prophet and Quraysh, between Imam Hussein and Bani Umayyah, especially Yazid. It's always this force. One is fighting for the will of God Almighty, and the other one is fighting for the path of shaitan. And now the question is saying here, Taib, why is there so much batil in the dunya now? God says here in this verse, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقِّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ. Taib, the haqq came and the batil left. So God is saying already in this verse, He's saying one replaces the other. You can't have two together. Taib, if this is true, why now in the world, why is there so much fasad? Why do you find, when you look at the world, honestly, when you look at the world in the way you see the TV, you always see that, the big powers, they got the power, they got the greatest military force, they got the money. It makes them look like it's got so much power. Sometimes I look at this and I imagine, when you blow up a balloon, the balloon is full of air and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But that balloon, no matter how much air it's got, sometimes it takes one pin of haqq to destroy it. But that pin of haqq, that sharp pin that wants to come in front of this fake force, because everything is basically everything that is batil is in fact is false, it's weak. What makes them stronger is Bani Adam. When Bani Adam, they do not stand up and say that this is false, and do not stand and make a stance, then the virus of batil gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Let me give you an example here. You all know this example. When you plant something, whether it be in the forest or in the garden, do you find who actually takes their time and effort to water weeds? How does the weed come into your garden? Do we just, if you're someone that's very careful and you look after your tree, your fruit tree, or your vegetables, do you say that one weed just leave it. It's not going to do much. It's one weed. Look at, and you know weeds, you pick them up with your finger, throw them away. But then if you ignore it, the weeds become bigger and bigger and bigger, and they suffocate. It might look like nothing, something soft. And then what it does, it takes the nutrients from what you're trying to plant, and then that's it. There's no growth there. The weed is batil. How batil came first into the garden, well, that's up to Bani Adam. Because you know weeds, usually they get probably your neighbor, mathal for example, your neighbor could have a bad vegetable patch, and all it takes is for the wind to blow one seed into your garden, and that's it, the weeds start. But it's your duty not to turn your face away and say it doesn't worry me. If you care about your garden, if we care about society, then we're supposed to remove that weed. The whole purpose of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was to expose the weeds and the viruses inside the ummah. But it's unfortunate that many people within the Islamic society chose to be quiet, chose to ignore the weed until the weed become bigger and bigger and bigger. And what happened? You get Karbala. So when we look at this, you understand that people might ask, why does the falsehood get bigger and bigger? It's because people themselves, they have not known or distanced themselves from God, and they distance themselves from what God has ordained them to follow. God has given you the guidance. If you decide to plant in your garden something that God has not ordained you to plant, then this is what's going to happen. Slowly, something's going to come there into your garden that you say, it's taken over my whole vegetation pack. These might sound simple for us. The same thing comes to you. The same battle comes to you. Why sometimes you don't speak about or stand up for haqq? Because within you, you don't know the ma'rifah, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. You don't know the ma'rifah and the knowledge of who Ahlul Bayt stood for. You don't know this. Because if this force is inside you, it's like you're a computer system. A computer system, there's someone outside that's trying to hack your nafs. Inside you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a nafs, this beautiful nafs of yours. It's all beautiful. You've all got this beautiful nafs. You're all specially used because you have the waliyah. Your nafs is more pure than all the other servants. But there's a hacker outside, whether it be Iblis or the people that work for Iblis, they're trying to hack your nafs. Of course, when I know my purpose here, I'm going to have my antivirus to make sure that this hacker, and I'll have all this cybersecurity to make sure that doesn't affect my nafs. Your nafs is most important. The Quran says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. The Quran tells you this nafs of yours is the one that purifies it is going to be, very, you could say, rewarded. And damned is the one that, basically destroys it. So when you know within you that there's these forces coming out, you have to protect yourself. The ways you protect yourself is by putting yourself in an environment that reprograms that cybersecurity of you. For instance, the majalis of Imam Hussein, reading the Quran, reading the ahadith. This is your cybersecurity. So when we look at this, you got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that when the question says, why is there so much batil? It's because we ourselves, hopefully not use, but many people when they see this, the facade that's going on in the world, they decide to remain silent. The reason they remain silent is because their aqeedah within them, their nafs within them, is not connected to truly follow the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The devil, he has two ways of deceiving people or knocking them off the track to show that you can't do anything. The first one, as we said before, is to attack you yourself, your nafs yourself, to bring you down and say, what are you going to say? Look at them. They have the greatest power. They have, the greatest technology. What are you, one person? One person. One person, sometimes that kalam al-haq, the one word in front of the oppressor is enough. Enough to bring down that ideology of what they are representing. I'll tell you why this happens. Listen to this. There's a bird called the cuckoo bird. What makes it so special is because when the female bird is about to lay an egg, it takes its egg, after the egg is hatched, it doesn't make its own nest. What it does, it goes around looking for another nest, and then it plants that egg into the nest of the nest it doesn't belong to, into a nest of another bird. This is not the scary part. The scary part is when this egg hatches, it doesn't belong into that nest. When this egg hatches, it hatches first. When the other bird mother, or the mother of the bird of the original nest is away, the one that's not supposed to be there, it picks up the other birds and throws them from the nest. It starts to kill the birds that originally part of that nest, and until it kills all the birds, and then it remains. So what's this got to do with me? And you're saying, why is there so much batil? It's because all of us have nests. It could be your family, it could be the ummah, it could be the place that you associate with. If we are not careful, when we bring something that is not supposed to be in that nest, it will slowly kill us off one by one until we are weak, until it takes over the whole nest. And this is what happens to the people. My brothers and sisters, shaitan and the people that work for shaitan, they never come up to you and say that I am bad. Did you ever hear Saddam Hussein, my God's curse be upon him, say that I'm a bad person? Huh? Do you ever see the other Arab leaders come up and say I'm a bad person? Any of these dictators, did they ever say to you, but the Quran tells you that someone like Fir'aun says, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la. Yeah, I'm your the highest of your Lord. I'm your Lord. He doesn't tell him. He actually has a go at Musa. When the magicians come, before he tells them, he says, "Hey, this Musa is the one that's causing mischief between you. Musa, not me." That's what this is the Quran telling you. Always they blame someone else. So the brave person, the shaitan, when the Quran says, لِأَقْعَدَنَّهُمْ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, listen to this. When the devil says that, oh Allah, I will sit and wait for them on your path. So the devil says, the way I'm going to deviate these people, I'm not going to go to the casino. I'm not going to go to the nightclub. I'm not going to go to all these places of fasad. I'm going to, that sirat al-mustaqim that you gave to your people, I'm going to sit there. I know that the mu'min doesn't go to these places. But I know the places that he goes to, that's where I'm going to stay. Listen to the words of the Quran, my brothers and sisters. He says that this is where he tells God. He doesn't lie. He goes, فَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأَغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Allahu Akbar. Can you believe this? The devil has sometimes more ma'rifah than Bani Adam. He tells him that with your might, I am going to deviate these people. When sometimes landmines, al-gham, When you want to put the landmines down, do you go and put it in a place where the soldiers don't walk? Or most enemies are going to put the mines in the places where they know that the people are going to walk. Iblis does the same thing. He knows, for instance, I'm going to know that this person is, going to the Hussainyat tonight. I'll give him I'll put a lighm. It's not in terms of real mine, but the mine could be a friend of his. Say, let's go and do something else. We can always watch the majlis here, for instance. Let's go and visit another friend. Let's go, he's going to put different mines here to distract him, to take him away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Iblis does. So when you look at this, you'll find that the people that stand up and say these words sometimes are victimized. For instance, when we look at to understand how someone can see and someone can't see, that someone can stand up for truth and someone that doesn't stand up for truth. You ever see those pictures they put on the wall sometimes? They're called magic pictures. They all got different colors. And then you look at it for a while and you can't see anything. It's a stereogram. You got to keep looking through and concentrate, and then all of a sudden a picture comes in front of your eyes. Have you ever seen those pictures? You see them. It's called magic pictures. This is how sometimes people work. Sometimes people see that, I see everything. I see the facade. What am I going to do? This person doesn't say anything. This other person doesn't say anything. What can I do? This is what happens to people. This is the same thing that happened to Imam Hussein. It wasn't just an overnight thing. The virus started in Saqifa. Slowly. This person doesn't say anything. This person kept quiet. We've already given our bay'ah to so-and-so. And all of a sudden, 50 years later, the grandson of the Holy Prophet is martyred on the grounds of Karbala. How was this so? Because people did not do the most important factor. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, what did he say? He says, when I'm going, he says, I'm going out to do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar. Do you know, when it comes to enjoying of the good and forbidding of the evil, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam has something beautiful. He says, if you grab all the great deeds that you do until the day of judgment, every single deed, every single hasana that you do, and you put it into the ocean, it's like a drop into the ocean compared to Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar. You know what I'm saying? Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar is greater than everything, because enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is what makes society and makes haq rise up and batil distinguish. For instance, in the story of Salih, why does God say فَعَقَرُوهَا? Doesn't he say this? It's plural. In the story the story of Salih and the she camel, God says they killed her. They killed the camel. But according to a hadith, one person killed the camel. One person by the name of Qadir or Qadir killed the camel. But because everyone stayed quiet, God sent the punishment to Thamud. This is what happens. People say, why is there fasad in the dunya? The fasad is in the dunya is not because of God. It's because those people that are on this earth did not translate and did not follow who God ordained to follow. You can imagine this. When the hadith says, لو جمع الناس على حب علي بن أبي طالب ما خلق الله النار. This is true. If the people were to join in and follow the likes of Ali bin Abi Talib, there'll be no need for God to create hell. But because people deviated from the path of Ahl al-Bayt, then the fasad, like I said before, the weed started to go through, and you get people now, like these people that are ruling the world, But it's only the majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and the dhikr of Ahl al-Bayt. It's like I said before, it's like that pin. You know that they have this big balloon. The pin that's in the eye of these people that are really just full of air is none other than the power and the dignity and the honor of God's greatest ever creation, and that is none other than Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah. You know the story of Ibrahim. Since we brought this, ala nabiyina wa ali alayhi salam, Ibrahim, this great prophet, he showed that one stage, the Quran talks about Ibrahim being one ummah by himself. You can imagine at one stage Ibrahim was the only believing person on this earth. But did that stop him from breaking the idols? Because what happens when you're with God and you truly know you're with God, then God is with you. Then this is the real power. That's why we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Do you understand what these words mean? These people, as much as they think they have power, you know, someone come to me the other day and saying to me, Tayyib, when the Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam comes, how is he going to fight these people that got nuclear bombs? I said to him, sorry about your question. I don't want to embarrass you, but by you asking that question, I don't think you really have absorbed who Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam is. For starters off, no matter how much these nuclear bombs have, or power they have, man-made power, I'll just give you one example. I said to him, I said, do you know the power that's generated in the hurricane, tornado, in the first 10 seconds is more powerful than all the nuclear bombs put together? He said, if the hurricane is more powerful than the nuclear bombs, then imagine the Hujjah that has the power over the hurricane. I said, until you know the Hujjah, until you know that Imam al-Hujjah has the power, he's on this earth, he controls everything by the will of God, of course. The winds, the rain, the sun, the moon, everything is in control for the Hujjah. So even if let's say for instance that they fired a missile. It still needs air to go up, doesn't it? Who controls the air? Your Imam does. How quick is it for him to make sure that the missile comes back down? You don't understand the azam of Ahl al-Bayt. We always say technology. Yes, technology is good, but not greater than the person that gave him the mind to do the technology. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alam al-insana ma lam ya'lam. I gave him the knowledge. So when we look at the story of Ibrahim, when he came to break the idols, this is how stupid people are. Because after he even breaks the idols, they said, "Men fa'ala hadha bi ilahillahi." Who did this with our gods? He said, the big one did. Ask him if he speaks. They said, he doesn't speak. So, in other words, he's shown how stupid you are. That these people that you take for as a God, he can't even save you. Don't take it as a story between Ibrahim and the idols, because many of us we take our own idols. We take our own idols. You know, it could be social media. It could be an influencer. We take him as their own idol, and we say that that how can this person like have all this? He must be something special. Ibrahim showed them that what you're sacrificing for, who you speak to, have no power. And to show you how stupid they were and ignorant, even when they looked at themselves, فَرَاجَوْا أَنفُسَهُمْ, they went back and said to themselves, like, you know what, maybe he's right, but then no. Then they forgot again. They said, no, you know what, burn him. I just showed you the proof. You're saying to me why batil doesn't is still in this world because people see haqq, and they still choose to ignore it. Like the story of Ibrahim and the idols. They saw, even after they threw Ibrahim into the fire, they saw the miracle. Do you think, how many people believed? How many people believed? A few. They reckon the hadith says only a few people believe. That's it. And they're close to his family. Even after they saw the miracle, they didn't believe. But it takes that one person to say, I'm not worried about this. I don't care if you got power. You know, there was a lady by the name of Erin Bogovic in 1990s. Well, I use this story because you can Google it. One lady, there was a town in California, and there was a gas and electrical company, and they were making, gas, electricity. But then after a while, people started getting sick in the town from the water that we're drinking. One lady, this was a very big company, millions of dollars, powerful attorneys, lawyers. One lady brought them down. She found out that they were the ones poisoning the water, and she stood up. She didn't have nothing behind her. She was just a normal lady. But she stood up in front of something she knew that was hurting people. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he knew that yes, people looked like they were praying. People looked like they were going to Hajj. People looked like they were fasting. But there was a virus between them. They looked, but they were really sick. They were actually spiritually sick. So he stood up. You drove me out. Do you think Imam Hussein would want to take his whole family and get slaughtered like that? But to show you how the Ummah had got to a stage that he himself, this, Abu Abdul Hussein, this, to show you that they saw the haqq. When Imam Hussein stood there on the plains of Karbala, what did he say to him? What did he say to him? He says, am I not the grandson of the Holy Prophet? He said, Naam, Bala, yeah, you are. He says, was not Fatima al-Zahra my mother? He says, yes. Was Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, my uncle? Yes. Was Ja'far al-Tayyar, who all the Muslims knew had wings in heaven, was he not my uncle? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Why do you fight me? He says, because of the hatred we had towards your father. Where's all the ahadith? Where's the hadith? Al-Hasan al-Hussein, Imamain, Qama wa Qa'da, Al-Hasan al-Hussein, Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. Where did all these ahadith go? Where did they go? If people saw the truth, imagine that. People say to me sometimes, inshallah it doesn't happen to you. Do you think when the Imam comes out, I might not recognize him? And I said to him, inshallah you're not one of these people, but I'll give an example. That Umar bin Sa'ad, my God's curse be upon him, and Shibr and Joshan and Hanwala, did they not see the Imam of their time? Did they not see the beautiful face of Abdullah Hussein standing there on the plains of Karbala, calling out, Hal min Nasin yansurna? Did they not see this? Yet they chose to fight him. The Imam, this beautiful Imam of yours, when he's told to leave Medina, he gets to the stage where he's stopped by Al-Hur. Al-Hur goes to him, I can't let you go back, and I can't let you return to Medina, and I can't let you go to, you have to go to another direction. So what happens that when the Hur moves in one direction, Imam Hussein is forced to go to another direction. Assalamu alaikum. When he gets to the stage where Imam Hussein alayhi salam, all of a sudden his horse stops. He asks for another horse. Again, he thought maybe there's something wrong with the horse stops. The hadith says the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, until 10 horses. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam asks him, what's this land called? So one man said, it's called Nainawa. It's one of the names of this place. He says, has it got another name? He says, yes, Al-Ghadiriyat. Has it got another name? He says, yes, Tufuf. Has it got another name? He said, yes, Ya Abu Abdullah, it's called Karban wa Bala. At this stage, Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, his face turned towards the heavens. He says, Allahumma a'udhu bika min Karbala wa Bala'a. Oh God, help me seek refuge from this Karba and Bala of this land. And then Imam Hussein looked towards Abu Fadel Abbas. And then he looked towards Ali al-Akbar. And he said, here, my family, here is where we're going to camp now. This is the place that my grandfather told me that I'm going to be martyred. He looked towards the family and he said, Huna tuqtul rijaluna. This is the place where our men are going to be killed. Here's Huna tuhruq qiyamuna. This is the place in which our tents are going to be burnt. Sa'adi qalbik ya Zainab. I can see on the day of Ashura when that night came running from tent to tent. And I heard the enemies calling out, Uhruqu biyut al-dhalimin. Imam Hussein alayhi salam then calls as, he goes, Huna yudbah awladuna. This is the place in which our youngs are going to be killed. Then I thought that he's looking towards Rabab and looking towards her and said, oh Rabab, this is your son. Abdullah Radhi will be killed min al-warid al-warid, from the neck to the neck, from the ear to the ear. But then I thought Abu Abdullah Hussein is standing there on the plains of Karbala. He's telling them that yes, Abu Fadl Abbas is having his hands cut here. Ali al-Akbar will be slaughtered here. Abdullah Radhi will be slaughtered here. But then I look on the day of Ashura, I look when Imam Hussein alayhi salam stood there by the plains of Karbala. And he's looking around and he's calling out, Hal min nasir yansuruna. He's calling out, is there anyone that's going to help me? Is there anyone that's going to help the family of Rasulullah? Standing on the plains of Karbala, broken your heart, Sa'adi Kalbik ya Fatima Zahra, when you heard your son on the last moments calling out, Wallahi bihaqqi jaddi inni hatshan. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa sayalamu alladhina dhalamu ayya manqalibin yanqalibun wal aqibatu lil muttaqin. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to firstly hasten the appearance of Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that does not take us out of this world, except that He is pleased with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He cures all our sick and has mercy on our loved ones. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ziyarah of Ahl al-Bayt fil dunya wa shafa'atun fil akhirah. هذه واخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وإلى روح المؤمنين والمؤمنات المسلمين والمسلمات رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.